The information in this video is provided for informational and educational purposes only.
Welcome to Dose of DN, where you'll get a little shot of what my life is like living with SMA. Today I have a special treat for you. I have a guest with us. Her name is Jennifer Perkins, and she has her own YouTube channel that focuses on her life and her family and living with SMA. I thought it would be interesting to have her on because a lot of her focus is on her family. And since I don't have a lot of experience with relationships and family, I thought I'd get some first-hand advice from her. So join in the conversation. So it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I've been following everybody on the SMA news.
Oh, good. We're glad you are. So chime in anytime.
Awesome.
So, well, I've watched your YouTube channel for a while now.
Awesome, thank you.
And I thought when you talked about your family, I thought it would be a great conversation to have on my YouTube channel for SMA News Today.
Okay, cool.
It comes up quite often, so I thought I don't have a lot of experience in that area, so I thought I should talk to someone who does.
Awesome.
If you want to introduce yourself and kind of let us know about what type of SMA you have and what your function level is, things like that.
Okay, well, as you said, my name is Jennifer Perkins. I'm 29 years old. I do have a son who is almost 2 years old. I have SMA type 3. I do use a wheelchair full time. My strength capacity, I would say I can lift about 8 pounds. I cannot lift my son anymore. I probably wasn't able to fully lift him after, gosh, he was like just a few months old. I couldn't hold him up in my arms anymore. But I do work full time. Yeah, so that's about me.
And how long have you been married?
We've been married for 4.5 years.
Okay. When the two of you talked about having a family, what were some of the deciding factors, or what came into play when you talked about that?
Really, probably the biggest deciding factor was if my husband was a carrier or not. We both knew going into the marriage that we both wanted kids. So probably a year before we started trying, my husband got tested and he is not a carrier. So then we were like, let's try and see what happens.
And I know not a lot of people are familiar with the genetics of it, but as long as your husband wasn't a carrier, your children will be carriers themselves, but not affected.
Yes.
Did other family members, were they concerned about that, or did they understand that aspect of it?
I mean, my parents, they've, been through my SMA journey with me my whole life, so they knew if my husband was not a carrier, my son would not be affected. But then like extended family and friends, they would ask the question, but then as soon as I explained exactly what you said, they were understanding, and everybody's been supportive of us starting a family.
That's great. Can you tell me a little bit about your pregnancy, how SMA affected it? Were there any surprises or things that caught you off guard, things like that?
I will say I had an easy pregnancy, I think, compared to some people. I never had morning sickness, which, of course, everyone deals with morning sickness through their pregnancy. But probably the biggest surprise was how much strength I lost. We didn't find out I was pregnant until I was 8 weeks along, and I had already lost a lot of strength. I wasn't able to wash my own hair anymore, and just turning my head to the side to talk to my husband, my neck was getting tired, and that was before we even knew I was pregnant. So then once we found out I was pregnant, I was like, sigh of relief, because I was like, oh good, the SMA's not taking this is just going to be temporary. And so that was probably the biggest surprise, was how much strength I lost.
you did regain some of your strength. Did you get back to where you were at beforehand, or?
Got most of it, but not all of it.
Okay.
So I mean, he's almost 2 now, and I don't think the rest is going to be coming back, but it's not too terrible. So it's enough to notice.
Okay.
Hmm.
Otherwise, an easy pregnancy, and I know you had a C-section. Was that, did you come to that conclusion because of your SMA? Is that why you had a C-section?
So I wanted to try to push, have a natural birth with an epidural. So bad, but I had spinal fusion surgery whenever I was 13, so I have rods in my back. And so really that was the deciding factor, because they couldn't get the epidural in my back. And for the C-section, they had to completely put me to sleep because they couldn't give me medicine in my back to do a C-section. So they had to completely put me out because of the rods in my back. But also, one of my friends had a baby about a year after me, and she, who does not have SMA, said the pushing was so hard on her. She said, I am so glad you decided not to try to push, because it would have just wiped you out. So
Yeah.
after her experience, I am very glad I went with a C-section.
And how was recovery afterwards with that?
It was actually really easy. So I had him at 9:30 in the morning, and I was in a hospital room, like awake in the room with him probably 20-30 minutes later, and I was off the IV 4 hours after that. And then the next morning I was already up in my chair and asking them to take the IV out of my hand, because I was so done with that. I didn't want it in my hand anymore, and I just wanted to go home because I had this new little baby that I had to take care of. The worst part of the whole recovery was getting the bandage taken off my incision. So just taking that bandage off was the worst part.
Okay. Well, that's pretty good then, if that was the worst part. What have been some of the challenges raising an infant and a toddler?
For the infant part, the most challenging is I couldn't change his diapers.
Okay.
So I could stay home along with him for a little bit when he was that little, because I had a boppy pillow on the front of me. So he just laid on my lap. But until diaper changes, that's whenever I would need someone to, come and help me. And I did nurse him, so I was able to do that by myself because he was so little. But yeah, the diaper changes was the most frustrating part for me because I couldn't do that myself.
Okay.
So the toddler stage, which is where we are now, he is all boy. He is so active. He climbs on everything. He's had so many busted lips so far and bumps and bruises because he just like runs around the house and climbs and jumps. And so of course I can't pick him up and tell him get off the couch, we're not going to do that. And so he has learned that whenever mama says no, like, she means get down.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I have nieces. I don't have children, but I have nieces, and when they were little, tone of voice goes a long way.
yes.
So, and how your husband is very supportive and
Oh,
helpful,
definitely.
and
Yes. So he knew going into it that I probably wasn't going to be able to change the diapers. He knew that that was going to be all on him. He knew that there was going to come a point where I couldn't pick up our son, and he would always have to hand him to me. And so he was all for it. I mean, the toddler stage was probably the hardest because he's just so active that my husband's chasing him all around the house right now. But yeah, he knew going into it that it was going to be different than an able-bodied couple.
And it's a difficult balancing. You said you work full-time, raising a toddler, dealing with SMA. How do you manage all that?
I will say having a good daycare is a big part of it. So I do drive myself. So my caregiver comes in the morning, gets me up while my husband's getting ready on his own time. And then once I'm up and have changed clothes, we go and get my toddler. I feed him breakfast, and then I'm able to by myself take him to daycare. And then our lady, she's so understanding. She comes out to my van and gets him and takes him into her house. And then in the afternoon, she comes back out, brings him out to my van, and then I take him home.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a big part of it, is just having a really good support system and just making sure everyone understands the challenges.
Yeah. And I'm sure your son loves your wheelchair, doesn't know any difference, right?
Kids are so adaptive to their surroundings. So whenever he first started to be able to stand, he learned to crawl up onto my foot plate, and then he can stand by mommy's feet and ride around in the chair on the foot plate. And then as soon as he was able to crawl into my lap, he crawls into my lap, and then he just goes, go! And so he just wants to ride around. And when he falls and gets hurt, he doesn't reach for me. He automatically crawls up into my lap because he knows I can't pick him up. He's never asked me to pick him up. So whenever he was too little to crawl into my lap, he would come up to me and like put his hand on my knee and like point to someone else, kind of like, you put me in mama's lap now. So he's just cute. He's so understanding, and now he's at the point where he tries to pick me up. Like, he knows I can't move by myself, so I'll be like laying in bed and he'll come and like put his arms out like, okay, I'm gonna pick you up now. And of course he's like, he can't even pick up my foot. He's so small, but yeah, he's very understanding.
Yeah, that reminds me, I've given house tours on my footrest before with my nieces, and they'll move my hand if they think I need it moved or things like that. So it's fun to see that they get acclimated so quickly and think nothing of it.
Yes.
So, and what are some of the main questions that you get from other people outside your family?
Really, the biggest one is whenever I was pregnant was, will he have SMA? But we covered that one, and really people are understanding of, no, he's not going to have SMA, and a lot of them are like, well, how can you ever take care of him and be alone with him? And I mean, like I said, kids are adaptive to their surroundings, so I can, right now at his stage in life, I can probably be home alone with him for about, I would say 45 minutes to an hour. If my husband has to go to the grocery store, if he changes a diaper right before he leaves, we're good to be home alone. I can get him snacks, I can get him water. And he likes to just sit on my lap and we'll play together, color together. So really the SMA part and then the how can you ever be alone with them were my two biggest questions.
Okay. And if someone with SMA is thinking about starting a family, do you have any advice for them?
Have a strong support system, because you're not going to be able to do things on your own like other moms. During my maternity leave, my husband only got 2 weeks off. I got 14 weeks off work. So I, of course, couldn't be home alone with him for those 14 weeks. So I had the 14 weeks split between a caregiver and my mom. So, having a strong support system is so important, because you can't do it on your own. You can't stay home by yourself with him, and you can't take him to doctor's appointments by yourself. So that's probably the biggest suggestion that I have to everybody.
You have to tell us the story of how you and your husband met. I saw it on your YouTube channel and I loved it. So you can please share that with us.
Online. So I did not put in my profile that I was in a wheelchair, And then whenever, I guess we talked for about 2 weeks, I think. Again, this was 9 years ago, so I'm trying to remember everything. I did not put in my profile that I was in a wheelchair. So then whenever I told him after 2 weeks, I was like, hey, I'm going to send you a Facebook request. Like, here's what you're going to see in the pictures. And he was just like, okay. So I was like, okay, just wanted to let you know before we meet in person. So then he came to my college. I was in college. He was a senior in high school. I am older. And he came to my college, and we met for the first time on campus, and he was just like never affected by the wheelchair. He like gave me a hug right away, and he's like, okay, what do you want to go do? Like, let's go eat or something like that. So yeah, there are success stories of meeting online. So yep, that's how we did.
And I've seen some of your vlogs have been with you driving your van. So you have a setup where you can drive yourself, right?
Yes. And I'm actually going to have a YouTube video coming out later this week about my van. So I've already recorded it, just working on the editing part.
Awesome. I know a lot of people are interested in that. That's something that I know I don't really have the capability for, but I love seeing that when other people can do it. I think that's awesome. So.
Yes.
And how are you guys dealing with the coronavirus situation? Is it nerve-wracking? Are you working more from home or anything like that?
So yeah, it's frustrating. I'm actually wearing makeup for the first time in 6 weeks. So I am working from home. So I started working from home 6 weeks ago, and I actually went to my parents' house for the first 2 weeks. Kind of like distancing myself from caregivers, because I had 5 caregivers coming in and out, and so me and my son both went to my parents' house for 2 weeks, and kind of worked from there and hid out there for 2 weeks. And then one of my current caregivers, she said, well, I can come and stay with you Monday through Friday while your husband works. And then so right now I'm down to 1 caregiver. She's helping me while my husband's at work. Of course, daycares are closed, so my son is here too. And so I'm just so ready to get back into the swing of things, get back into the office. And I know Levi misses his friends at daycare, so
yeah.
But we are lucky that me and my husband are both still working.
Yeah, that's a good thing too. So I know it's hard for everybody, and I know I have caregivers that come in, and it is that element of nervousness when you know you have more people coming in and out. So
yes,
and especially with the respiratory issues that come along with that. So
yes, definitely.
So, well, do you have any final thoughts for us?
No, I think we kind of covered everything, every aspect.
Okay.
You want to see my son? He's right here at the door knocking.
Sure, we'd love to.
Okay, give me just a second. Come here. Hi, come get on my lap. Can you say hi?
Hi.
Here, say hi. Gotta move the camera down. Hold on, Levi. There, can you say hi?
There, now we can see you. Hi.
Hi, Levi. Can you say hi? You're just gonna wave. Yeah. You can't push the buttons. You can't push the buttons.
Well, here's a cutie pie.
Thank you.
And you fit just right on Mom's lap.
Yep. Come kiss. Good boy.
Well, thanks for letting me meet him.
No problem.
Back time soon.
Actually, just had an apple.
What's your favorite snack? Do you have a favorite?
Can you say blueberries?
Blueberries.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yep.
So, well, thank you again.
Okay, no problem.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation as much as I did. It was great learning about her family. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know either in the forums or on the YouTube channel, and I'll try to reach out to Jennifer and get some answers for you. That's all I have for you today. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.